Everybody, welcome in from around the world as we continue our epic Hope for Wildlife series here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I know we've got some new faces in the crowd today, and so if you are joining us for the first time, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And this Hope for Wildlife series is one of our signature efforts this year to inspire you with the knowledge that there are so many amazing and dedicated, passionate people working to save species and save habitats around the globe. So we've got an incredible series of 8 programs featuring solely positive stories of conservation around the globe, and thank you so much for joining us for that. So this is a special partnership between us, the Green Status of Species folks at the IUCN Red List organization, and Conservation Optimism, which did the most incredible work to pull together some amazing resources for kids like you to keep the learning and excitement going after the broadcasts are done. So I'll make sure to get all those things to all you classes after we're done today's program. Before we get underway with today's topic, I want to note there is a Kahoot today. So if you're joining us live on StreamYard or on YouTube, you want to play along with a little 4-question quiz, feel free to bring up kahoot.it and input the game pin below. Now, yesterday was for the birds in Hope for Wildlife. We did penguins and condors, and it was an amazing time with Grant and Claudia. Today is all about predators. We just wrapped up with Julia joining us in the United Arab Emirates, talking about her incredible work with sharks. And we are keeping the fun going with my favorite kinds of creatures, reptiles, and specifically crocodiles. We're joined by Merlijn van Weerd, who's going to talk to us about his work in the Mabuwaya Foundation, helping protect the Philippine crocodile, a really, really special and charismatic animal, through some amazing community conservation work. So I'm not going to steal any more of his thunder. I'm going to turn it over to him to blow our minds over the next 20 minutes. And so without further ado, Merlijn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you very much for having me. And fantastic to see so many people tuning in to learn something about the Philippine crocodile.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to dive in, I know you've got a lot to share with us today. We've got your first slide up and we are good to go, man.
Excellent. All right. So let me see if this works. You should see my second slide now.
Yes, holding a crocodile, having a lot of fun.
Exactly. That's me on a very happy day, holding a Philippine crocodile. The first one we ever caught, a big one. And we did that to put a transmitter on it. I'll tell you more about that later to follow its movements. So my name is Merlijn van Weerd. I'm a Dutch biologist. I work at the University of Leiden in the Netherlands as a researcher and a lecturer. But I spent half my time in the Philippines working with the Mabuwaya Foundation, trying to conserve Philippine crocodiles. So the Philippines is a country of 7,000 islands in Southeast Asia, roughly between China and Indonesia, with a population of 110 million people. So what is a Dutchman like me doing in the Philippines working with crocodiles? Well, maybe because we don't have crocodiles in the Netherlands, or do we? I might see one there. No, we don't have crocodiles in the Netherlands. It's definitely a lot of fun in the Philippines, and I have lots of friends there. But the reason for me as a biologist to be very interested in the Philippines is because the Philippines has lots of species that are not found anywhere else in the world. We call them endemic species. This is one of my favorite, mouth. So only found in the Philippines. There's a problem with these endemic species because most of their habitat, the places where they live, has disappeared. So on the map, you see the forest cover of the Philippines. It's a tropical forest country, but most of that has been lost because of logging, because of agricultural development and urban development. And the same is true for wetlands. So these are marshes and ponds and rivers, and many of these have been converted into rice fields. Rice is the staple food of the Philippines. And here you see the population of the Philippines, the human population. So at the moment, it's reaching 120 million. And all these people have to live somewhere, have to cultivate if they're farmers, and have to eat food. So you can imagine that there is immense pressure on these remaining wild areas in the Philippines and all the endemic species that live within them. Well, one of the last areas that still has forest is the northern Sierra Madre. This is in Northeast Philippines, and that's where I work. In 1999, I was sent to the Philippines to sort of map the biodiversity of this area, look what kind of species were there. And this area is really very beautiful with very good forest and lots of exciting species in them. The rivers are still clean. And when I started my work, I was very lucky because we were presented with this baby crocodile by a fisherman who knew that we were looking for animals. And this was a discovery because at that time it was thought that the Philippine crocodile was almost extinct in the wild and there were no crocodiles in northern Philippines anymore. So, of course, when there's a baby crocodile, there must be parent crocodiles. And we set out to find these remaining crocodiles in the wild. In the left corner, you see a colleague of mine, Jan van der Ploeg. He's an anthropologist. He is interviewing fishermen and hunters because these people, of course, see crocodiles when they are in the field. We were looking for traces of crocodiles, like in the right top corner, you see a burrow. This is a hole dug by a crocodile in the riverbank where they can hide. We're looking for crocodile tracks. And we do night surveys. We use flashlights at night to go to areas to look for crocodiles. And the eyes of crocodiles reflect in the night a very clear red reflection. Call that eye shine. So that's how we find crocodiles. And at night, crocodiles are active and are not so much afraid of people. And this is what it looks like if you see that eye shine of a crocodile. Really very bright eyes, red eyes. Based on the size of these eyes, we can also estimate the size of the crocodiles. If you're lucky, you can also see crocodiles during the day. Crocodiles are reptiles, so they have to heat up during the day in the heat of the sun to increase their body temperature to be able to be active in the early night when they go out hunting. This is an adult crocodile. It's the largest one we ever saw. We were able to catch it and put a transmitter on it. It's 3 meters long, and that's for a crocodile is medium sized. The Philippines also has saltwater crocodiles, and these can be 6 meters long. So that's twice as long as this one. But this was a pretty big boy. Well, Philippine crocodiles were thought to be almost extinct in the wild. The only remaining population was in the south of the Philippines, in Mindanao, until we discovered the population in northern Philippines. But even now, Philippine crocodiles are very rare. They are critically endangered. The total wild population is estimated at about 100 mature, so adult individuals, and that makes it probably the rarest crocodile in the world. How many crocodiles are there in the world? Well, crocodiles are part of a family that we call crocodilians. And at the top of this poster, you see the gharials. They live in India and Indonesia. And then there are alligators and caimans. These live mostly in North and South America. And then the true crocodile in all their 25 species. And the Philippine crocodile is shown here in the center. So what do we know about Philippine crocodiles? Well, let's start with the beginning, and those are the nests. So Philippine crocodiles make both mound nests and hole nests. A mound nest is a heap of vegetation, and a hole nest is a hole in the ground where the eggs are deposited. Only the Orinoco crocodile also uses both mound and hole nests. Philippine crocodiles lay up to 25 eggs, and because of the vegetation and the heat and the humidity, this vegetation starts to ferment, to rot, and that creates the heat necessary to hatch the eggs. That takes about 70 days. Here you the nest. What we usually do is open the nest to count the eggs. We measure the eggs and we mark them. That's how we can monitor the nesting success. If you do this carefully, it doesn't have a negative impact on the eggs. So of course, we do put the eggs back in the nest as we found them. And then once we were very lucky and we were there while a nest was hatching, here you see baby crocodiles coming out of the eggs. So they're very, very small, tiny crocodiles at that time. Crocodiles grow up. This is a juvenile crocodile. They grow up in shallow water areas where the water is nice and warm, and there's lots of small prey species for them, like the dragonfly. I'm not sure if you see it on the back of this crocodile. but crocodiles eat dragonflies as well. And here you see the lake, Dunoy Lake, where this crocodile grew up. What do crocodiles eat? Well, it depends on their size. So the bigger the crocodile, the bigger the prey item it can eat. As I mentioned, small crocodiles eat insects, and then they start eating amphibians, small mammals like rats. All crocodiles of all sizes eat snails, Philippine crocodiles, other reptiles, birds, fish. And then when they get bigger, they also start eating bigger animals. Unfortunately, sometimes also the domestic farm animals of people that live near crocodile areas. We studied the diet of crocodiles by pumping out the stomach content. It's a bit of a nasty thing for both for the crocodile, but it doesn't harm them, and for the researcher because it smells awful. But we found that Philippine crocodiles eat a lot of snails and birds and fish. But snails, that's quite special because about half of the snails that they eat is the golden apple snail. This is a species introduced from South America. It lives in rice fields and it eats the rice plants. So it's a pest. Farmers are very unhappy with this snail, and the crocodiles actually help them control the pests. So Philippine crocodiles are helping farmers controlling pest species in rice fields. Well, as I mentioned, we sometimes catch crocodiles and put transmitters on them so that we can follow their movement. We do that to study which areas they use, so we know which areas need to be protected. And I want to share some of these results with you. This is a study with Joey Brown, a visiting researcher from the US in our program. Here we see a video, and we see an adult crocodile being released with a satellite transmitter glued to its neck. We were able to film that underwater as well, very exciting. And yeah, here you see the crocodile swimming in the water. Here you see the two people that are filming this, and the crocodile goes straight to one of these people. What happened there? Well, we are going to see that underwater because he filmed it. The crocodile swims by, luckily. And this is how fishermen sometimes see crocodiles underwater as well. It's one of the sort of evidence that Philippine crocodiles really do not attack people because they are not big enough to see people as potential prey species. Here we see the results of one of the telemetry studies. So this was a crocodile with a satellite transmitter. It was released. Satellite transmitters are fantastic because you simply receive an email with the locations where the crocodile was, and you can plot that in Google Earth in this case, and that's how we can follow the movements of this crocodile. We see that the crocodile moved quite far upstream. This crocodile has what we call a home range of 10 kilometers, and then it stayed in this area for a month, made excursions to the forest as well. Philippine crocodiles actually are really good walkers. So they swim obviously very well, but they can also walk through these rocky areas and even through the forest. You see this river is very rocky, so crocodiles need to be good climbers to move up and down. You see the water is clear, which makes it good for fishing for the crocodiles. And this crocodile moved upriver. We're following the river with a drone here, exactly to the areas where the crocodile was. And here we see that this river is surrounded by forest, beautiful forest. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Many Philippine crocodiles actually live in areas like these. So here we see a creek. There are crocodiles living here, but we see it's surrounded by agricultural lands, and there are also houses that are near the creek. People use the creek. There you see a pig walking around freely. Well, at night, that pig would not be safe from crocodiles. One of the other challenges we have with crocodile conservation, crocodiles are often portrayed as dangerous monsters. Or as evil creatures, and that makes it quite difficult to get support for crocodile conservation. It was different in the past in the Philippines because people really respected crocodiles, but nowadays you see that crocodiles are often killed. Here we see an adult large male crocodile killed by someone. We don't know who did this. And that's our challenge. We're trying to work to conserve Philippine crocodiles. We do that with the Mabuwaya Foundation. Mabuwaya stands for Mabuhay, long live the crocodile in Filipino. Here you see me and our team. All my teammates are Filipino. And we do a lot of communication. So what we try to do is to show people that it is possible to live together with crocodiles if you take certain precautions. Our slogan is something to be proud of. We want people to be proud of having this endemic, very rare crocodile in their midst. We work with school children. We made a storybook that is distributed to school children about crocodiles and crocodile conservation. We have a puppet show, which is shown at schools. We have a theater group that we supported of local students. They go to the villages near crocodile areas and perform their show. And we have an annual Croc Fest, and schools compete in this. They make costumes and dances. They can win prizes. Oh, the last time we had this before COVID, we had 40,000 visitors. So that shows how important the Philippine crocodile is going to is starting to be. And this is in the municipality of San Mariano. The Philippine crocodile became the flagship species of this municipality, and the vast majority of people are actually proud to have this crocodile. Now we work with communities to determine which areas need to be protected, which areas are very important for crocodiles, and which areas can be used, for example, for agriculture. And the most important areas for crocodiles are protected as crocodile sanctuaries. It's the communities themselves who determine where that is, and they make the rules and regulations for these protected areas. We have 8 of these sanctuaries at the moment. And to make sure that everyone follows the rules, we train people in environmental law enforcement, and we have 12 sanctuary guards who patrol the sanctuaries, who warn people if they do things that are not allowed. They're also involved in crocodile monitoring. Now, interestingly, many of these people were former crocodile hunters. They used to kill crocodiles and sell the hide or the meat or the live crocodiles, and now they're earning money by protecting the crocodiles. We also try to do something about the conflicts. So we provide water pumps to make sure that people do not have to go to the river and creek to fetch water. The water is also cleaner, so it's also healthier. We try to reforest the buffer zones along creeks and rivers so that there is a natural barrier between the crocodiles and the people. And that also creates habitat for natural prey species for the crocodiles and nesting habitat. We provide materials to farmers to build pig pens so they can put their pigs there at night when the crocodiles are out hunting. And there are also benefits for people, because these sanctuaries, very often you're not allowed to fish inside. So the fish populations are protected. And when fish do swim outside, they can be caught. And fishermen claim that outside of the crocodile sanctuaries, they now catch more fish than before these sanctuaries were established. People say there's more water and cleaner water for drinking and washing and also for irrigation. But to help the Philippine crocodile population recover further, we implement what we call Head Start program. We search for nests every year. We protect these nests. And when the babies are born, we collect some, not all, but some, to raise them in captivity. And by this time, the crocodiles are very small and they are eaten by other animals like birds or snakes or monitor lizards. We have a center called the Philippine Crocodile Conservation Center, and here we raise those crocodiles in captivity for 2 years under very safe conditions. It's also a visitor center, so people can visit and learn more about the Philippine crocodile here. And then after 2 years, the crocodiles are about 60 or 70 centimeters long, and now it's the crocodiles eating the birds instead of the other way around. We involve children in this as well, for example, by measuring the crocodiles to monitor their growth. And it's very often children who release the crocodiles back into the wild, and then they're also allowed to give the crocodile a name. Children in San Mariano. So this area is one of the poorest areas in the Philippines, and many parents do not have enough money to buy school supplies for their children, like bags or pens and paper, notebooks, etc. So we provide that to about 3,000 school children in communities that live near crocodile sanctuaries. That's our Crocs sponsor program, Crocodiles in the River and Our Children in School. Here we see an indigenous Acta community receiving their school supplies for that year. So if any of you think that you can contribute to this, to a sponsor drive or whatever, we would of course very much welcome that. Does it help what we're doing? Yes, it does. We are monitoring the crocodile population and we see that there is a gradual increase. But the population is still very low. We have about 100 crocodiles in the wild. You also see that there are ups and downs. So these are the counts per year. Sometimes we have bad years, especially years when we have typhoons. These are the very strong storms that are visiting the Philippines every year. There was one just last week. And during a typhoon, if a typhoon goes straight over San Mariano, then the crocodiles are washed away. There are massive landslides and floods. So those are the years that we lose quite a lot of crocodiles. But you see that over the years, there is a gradual increase of the population. Most importantly, most people are now supporting Philippine crocodile conservation, and very few crocodiles are being killed or caught by people. And this video concludes my presentation. We see an adult Philippine crocodile in Catalangan River. It's again filmed with a drone. And when we turn the drone, we're actually going to see that there is a village just nearby the river. And there are people there watching the crocodile. The people that live here in this village are not scared of the crocodile anymore. They actually love to see it. The women often wash clothes alongside the river while crocodiles float by. Children swim with the crocodiles in the water. Nobody is afraid of the crocodiles, and people are actually proud of having these crocodiles. And that, of course, really offers hope for a future of the Philippine crocodile in the wild.
Oh, what a spectacular presentation. Sorry, it's very exciting. I never mind the kids. I'm thrilled with all this. I know you got one more slide. I'll leave you to it. Sorry.
I have one final slide, Jesse, but I'm really done. I just want, these are our contact details for anyone who wants to reach out to us. I just want to thank my whole team in the Philippines for doing the fantastic work that they're doing. And I want to conclude with saying, Mabuwaya, long live the Philippine crocodile.
Merlijn, that was a wonderful presentation. Honestly, every time we get the chance to hear about conservation happening in the Philippines, it just blows my mind at how much incredible stuff is being done there. We've never had a program featuring the Philippine crocodile, so this was a really special treat today. And thank you so much for sharing all this, and especially the importance of getting kids excited about this, communities invested in their local wildlife. I mean, we live and breathe this stuff, whether it comes, I'm in Canada right now, so we think of moose this way, we think of other predators this way, out in BC, mountain lions, bears, more. But it's so nice to see that your organization is doing such incredible work to instill this mindset in the Philippines. So if you want to come out of screen share so you can see us again, have a bit of a conversation, you go ahead and do that. And I'm going to get us ready with our Kahoot now, guys. So we're going to do a quick 4-question quiz before you have the chance to ask questions of your own. So formulate those questions, mull them over, but we'll dive in with our Kahoot. Merlijn can help us out here when there's a few seconds to go for every question. But if you're new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. And you don't win anything, but you do win our everlasting respect if you end up on the podium at the end of this. So we're going to dive in. These questions are, again, drawn from the presentation and also the amazing resources that Conservation Optimism created for this program. So if you want to learn more about crocodiles, play along with some games, I'll make sure all our teachers have that at the end of the broadcast too. But let's dive in and get ready with our first question. All right. I'm excited. 3, 2, 1, we're going to get underway. Right. How many Philippine crocodile adults are left in the wild? 10, 100, 1,000, or 1,000,000? There's just crocodiles everywhere. There's crocodiles in every corner. Wow, you guys are very, very fast with their answers today. This is great, guys. So again, underscores the need to conserve them, but does highlight, of course, the fantastic work being done to save them. So 52 of our answers in. Most of you guys got this right. Way to go. On our first question, Dr. Horse has our lead. They're all silly names, Merlijn. That's half the fun of these programs. We almost had a person with a shark name win the shark one earlier today, so I'm hoping we get a crocodile winner. So what are the Philippine crocodile's favorite food items? Birds, people, reptiles, or snails? Looking at our menu here. 13 seconds ago. It was an unusual one. I must say, I'd never heard of a crocodilian species that prefers this as a prey. So fascinating research, and everyone was paying attention. Snails is our correct answer, which is wild to think about. So out of curiosity, I'm going to stop for a second. So how bad does it smell? Is there any comparable smell to how terrible it is to...
Well, if you've been very sick yourself and emptied your stomach, and that times 10, I guess.
All right. I know we've had whale researchers on before talking about going through whale bodies when they wash up on the beach, and I've smelled whale, and that is the worst smell I've ever had in my entire life.
Oh, yeah, that's bad. I know that.
True or false? Crocodiles make great mothers. Again, tons of answers coming in really fast. You guys are on the ball today. But I think this is a really important thing that you noted today, and I think it's something that most of our audience got it right. Crocodilians, reptiles in general, tend to be very, very fantastic parents. They keep their clutches warm. They keep them from predators. They sometimes protect them long after they're born. Unusual in the animal kingdom, but a neat fact to know. Lucky Rhino takes our lead. We've got one more question left, and then you get to ask all your crocodile questions. Merlijn joining us today. But what are some ways in which the foundation protects crocodiles? Does it release hatchling crocodiles into the wild? Does it give farmers materials to build croc-proof pig pens? Does it make the community proud of their crocodiles? Or, if anyone's ever done a Kahoot with me before, maybe it's all of the above. Our final answer with 4 seconds to go. What do we think? And our answer is yes, all of the above. So a lot of conservation organizations do a wide variety of work to help instill that mindset in their community, work to save these species, and you guys get the chance to hear some really special examples of that today. So Daring Bad is third, Zany Horse is second, and first, and please do let us know if you are any of these people, is Lucky Rhino. Way to go. All right. We're going to dive in with questions now, and kudos to you guys for playing along with the Kahoot. Mr. Hancock's class, 4-5s in Georgetown. If you want to kick us off with a question, you're in the broadcast and good to go.
Hey, Jesse. Hey, Merlijn. We were the Zany Horse, so we hit the podium today. We were pretty excited. Some students were really curious about the sleep patterns of a crocodile. When do they sleep? How often do they sleep? Are they nocturnal? A lot of people were wondering about how sleepy they get.
Awesome.
All right. Yeah. Well, crocodiles, most of the time, they do nothing. They're quite boring in that respect. So most of the time during the day, they're just lying either in the water or they're basking on a rock or a log. So as I mentioned, they're reptiles. So they need to, they don't control their own body temperature. They need to heat up in the sun. So that's what they do most of the day, just lying there in the sun, heating up. And then they're active very often just a few hours at the early stages of the night. That's when they hunt. And then they lose their energy because they cool down. And then they do nothing again for most of the night. And then they have to warm up during the day again. So crocodiles are not super active. When they are active, they have these short periods of very strong activity. But yeah, most of the time they do nothing.
Yeah. And so I think it's worth noting just on the reptile group in general, the idea that they need to warm up in the sun. So you don't typically have nocturnal reptiles because they have to be up to get that energy to warm up their muscles and body and get on the go. So great question, guys. All right, Madam Stephanie's class joining us in Milton. If you want to unmute your mic, you are good to go. Hey, guys, welcome in. Oh, unmute your mic. You muted it again. You pressed it twice. There we are. Hi.
Hi. Thank you so much for this presentation. I was wondering if are there any other species of crocodiles in the Philippines other than the Filipino crocodile?
Yes, there are. So there are also saltwater crocodiles. This is a different species. It's not endemic. It's found from India to Australia, including the Philippines. In Australia, these are called the salties. These are the largest crocodiles in the world. They grow up to 6 meters, and they're potential man-eaters. They are so big that they can actually catch and eat people. So that creates a bit of a problem for us because sometimes there are news items in the Philippines about people being attacked by these saltwater crocodiles. And then we have to explain to people this is a different species from the Philippine crocodile. Yeah. But of course, saltwater crocodiles also have a right to live. They've become quite rare in the Philippines as well.
Yeah, but we had the same issue with sharks earlier in the broadcast, earlier in the day today too, is that there was many species of sharks that want nothing to do with people, will flee away, and there's some that tend to be responsible for more aggressive instances towards people. And so trying to differentiate that with a public that sees, oh, shark, oh, crocodile, can be challenging. I must say, Philippine crocodiles are now one of my favorites, but salties are my all-time favorite reptile in the world. I've seldom wanted to see another creature more than them. Miss Mally's class, we're going to head to you guys next for a question. Come on in. Welcome, guys. Hi.
Hi, my name is Usman. Also, thank you for the presentation. Our class loved it.
Awesome. Thanks as well.
Thank you.
My question is, what was your best discovery?
Ooh, best discovery you've ever had.
Best discovery and related to crocodiles, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that the best discovery was that there are still Philippine crocodiles in northern Philippines, because that started our project, and that gave hope for sort of continued survival of the Philippine crocodiles in the wild. But another recent discovery we made was that they eat this golden apple snail, which is really a big pest for rice farmers in the Philippines. So when we found that out from the study of the stomach content, that was fantastic, because we can now tell farmers that the crocodiles are helping them by eradicating this pest species.
It's amazing how much of conservation begins with looking and listening and finding things like this out. Like, the basic research is the impetus to all of this. And I mean, you talked at the beginning of your program about getting the chance to go there and assess the biodiversity. And I mean, what a spectacular opportunity for a biologist to get to go and chart stuff in such an incredibly stunning, unbelievable part of the world. And then to find out that there's something that can be helped and done about it. And to,
Yeah.
It's a very cool personal story. I'm so glad we've had you on the program today. It's been so much fun.
Thank you.
Mr. Shad's class, Chalk River, we're heading to you guys next, and then Miss Marshall, and then we'll do another round of all our live classes. Come on in, Mr. Shad. Hey, guys. What was that?
We
came
came first place. He came first place.
Oh, you came first place. You did. I told you that, Mr. Shad's class, you guys always win the Cahoots. Way to go. So kudos to you. But what is your question?
Question is, have crocodiles ever been in danger?
Yes. Ever been in danger, like as a group? Sorry.
As a group, or just itself?
Yeah, so the Philippine crocodile endangered, other crocodile species endangered, just generally the state of them.
Yeah, and the Philippine crocodile is probably the rarest of them all, so is critically endangered. But there are quite a lot of other crocodile species that are very rare and endangered as well. Most of them found in Southeast Asia. Nearly all crocodiles in Southeast Asia, with the exception of the saltwater crocodile, are listed as endangered on the IUCN Red List.
Yeah. Anytime you have big species, and especially predators, they need a lot of habitat, they need a lot of food. People tend to persecute them. We're running into problems across the board with species around the world that fit this bill. And so, again, it underscores the need for conservation efforts like this, where you change attitudes, you get people involved. When people are vested in saving wildlife and they view it more valuable as alive than dead, that's where you get this really fantastic work to help save species. So I'm glad we got that question. Miss Marshall's class, if you guys want to unmute your mic, come on in and join us. Oh, your camera's on too. Hey, guys.
What's the difference between a crocodile and an alligator?
Ooh. Yeah, so they're all part of the larger group of crocodilians. And alligators are found in the US and the North America. But there's also an alligator found in China, the Chinese alligator, which is a very small alligator species. So alligators look different from crocodiles. They have a much broader snout, and crocodiles have a more elongated snout. Well, there are some other morphological differences as well. Most alligators eat fish, but then there are also fish eating crocodiles. But they look quite different, especially the form of the head and the snout.
Yeah, I think the best way I've ever seen it depicted is that a crocodile, if you hold your arms up like this, looks more like that, and an alligator is more rounded. So if you tuck your hands in like this, you have this rounded shape like an oval at the end, as opposed to it coming to a point. Now, of course, if you're in the water with one, you don't really have time to be like, oh, alligator, crocodile. But I always love this question. And you can look this up very easily online. National Geographic has some great resources to show the differences as well. So I encourage you to do that in Miss Marshall's class. Mr. Hancock, I'm coming back to you guys for another question. Take us away, guys.
Perfect. A few students were wondering about breeding these crocodiles in captivity. Does that affect any of their animal instincts, their hunting, once they're released?
Yeah, it does actually. That's why we are a bit hesitant to do that. We were involved in the project like that, but it was not a success. The crocodiles that were released did not cope with the habitat that they were put in, and most of them died. That's why we believe more in what we in our head starting, and what we try to do is to mimic the wild conditions. So we put crocodiles in. Can actually learn how to hunt for themselves before they are put back into the wild. And we do it only for 2 years, whereas crocodiles that really grow up in captivity, probably lack the skills to adapt to the wild, unless you make sure that they learn in captivity how to hunt, how to survive.
I'm really, really glad we got this question, Mr. Hancock's class, because I know a lot of people that we've talked to in our broadcast before, a lot of people that I talk to sort of anecdotally say, hey, just raise them in the wild, put them back out there. What could be wrong? I mean, if you grow an animal in a condition that is so unnatural, literally, to what it is used to, you can end up with challenges in terms of them getting sort of used to the wild or succeeding in the wild. And so I think that's a fantastic point, guys. Madam Stephanie's class, come on in. If you guys have another question for us, you're good to go. Just unmute that mic. Hey, guys.
Hello. Great presentation, by the way. What is the capacity of nurture that the hatchlings need to grow?
Sorry, I didn't fully get that question. The capacity
of nurture. So, like, how much, I guess, do the mothers take care of their young? How important is that? Is that the idea, or? Mm-hmm. Yeah. How important is the maternal care?
Okay, well, mother crocodiles do protect the nest when they make a nest, but they do not feed the young. So once the crocodiles are born, it's basically up to them to survive. So these small crocodiles do stay together more or less in one area, but they're not being fed by their mothers. So that's why it's actually possible to collect some of them and raise them in captivity. There's no motherly care that they are lacking in captivity.
Right. Fantastic, guys. Miss Mally's class, come on in. If you guys have a second question for us, you're good to go. Great.
How small are crocodiles when they first leave their egg?
Yeah, so when they're born, the baby crocodiles are really small, and we measure them. So they're not even 20 centimeters. So what is that? 8 inches, something like that. Super, super small, and very vulnerable at that time. That's why we do that head starting program, because many of them are actually eaten by other animals because they're so small.
We love predator programs in this thing because you have this sense when things are really tiny that they're like the prey for everything. I mean, baby sharks, baby crocodiles, baby bears are eaten by other things. I mean, pretty much babies are vulnerable. When you get to a certain size, that's when you end up with a situation where you're not really at risk. The only animals, I guess, that don't really at risk as babies are elephants. Really have very few predators other than lions, elephant babies, and some whale species are so big that basically nothing wants to touch them. But otherwise, food for all. Great question, guys. All right, we're going to take 2 more before we wrap up. Time flies when we're having fun, Merlin. This is so much fun. Mr. Shattuck's class, come on in. One more question. You always ask questions. You are like the best question asker in the whole, all Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. You personally. Come on in. Go for it.
How long can crocodiles live for?
How long do they live?
Yeah. We don't really know because there's not that much known about Philippine crocodiles. Almost everything that's known from the wild comes from our program. We were the first ones to study Philippine crocodile ecology in the wild. So, but I think in captivity, they can live up to about 40 or 50 years. And in the wild, of course, it depends on the conditions. If the conditions are really good, they will also reach that age, but if the conditions are not good, they will die when they are younger. But about 40 to 50 years,
which is exceptional, by the way, by animal standards. And this is something that we see in a lot of reptiles, that they tend to live much longer than comparably sized mammals and other things, which is really fascinating. So that's why we've all heard stories of tortoises say that live 100, 150 years. Crocodilians tend to live a very long time. But it's interesting. We've had this question in every single one of our broadcasts so far. And the scientists have all had to say, we're doing this research. We're following these creatures for the first time in any serious way. So we're all finding out at the moment, which is great. Stump the Scientist is one of our favorite games here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. So,
yeah. Well, you would only really know if you follow an individual from birth to death, right? And if that takes 40 years, then, well, That's a very long study program.
Well, I think you're on the case. We'll come back and do a program in 20 years, and we'll see if we.
That's great. I'll be there.
Yeah, perfect. Miss Marshall's class, I know that we could take questions all day, but we'll head to you guys for one more to wrap us up. Come on in, guys. Hey.
How many nests did you find last year of crocodiles?
Ooh, yeah.
Great question. Last year was our record year. So now you think maybe we found 20 nests or 30 nests. No, we only found 6. Now is our record year is 6 nests, but that was last year, so that's a good sign. And then this year we had 5 nests. Hopefully next year we will have 6 or 7 again. So yeah.
Yeah, the more the merrier. That's spectacular for a fairly small population size to have that many. So great question, guys. Merlijn, this has been so much fun. I just want to stress again for all our students that are keen to learn more, we've got so many resources to do so. The Kids Corner at Conservation Optimism did an incredible interview where you can learn more, play some games, keep excited about crocodiles. And of course, at the end of the broadcast, we had all those links. If you want to follow the Mabuwaya Foundation online, on their social media pages and more, you can contribute to their efforts to save crocodiles and to instill that amazing new mindset in the community about that importance of these incredible creatures. Again, this is a program in conjunction with us, Conservation Optimism, the green status of species, all inspired by nature for all. So without further ado, what I'm going to do to end every broadcast is bring in all our teacher friends to say a big thank you and farewell. Mr. Hancock, Madam Stephanie, Miss Malley, Mr. Shattuck, if you guys want to unmute your mics and join me. You are all in the broadcast. Thank you so much, everybody.